Rich Dad looked over to me to see if I was still listening. His eyes met mine. We stared at each other, communicating through our eyes. Finally, I looked away once I had absorbed his message. I knew he was right. I was blaming him, and I did ask to learn. I was fighting. He will continue to do that for a while, but anyhow, Rich Dad continued. Or if you're the kind of person who has no guts, you just give up every time life pushes you. If you're that kind of person, you live all your life playing it safe, doing the right thing, saving yourself for some event that never happens. Then you die, a boring old man. You'll have lots of friends who really like you because you were such a nice, hardworking guy. But the truth is that you let life push you into submission. Deep down, you were terrified of taking risks. You really wanted to win. Morning, everybody. Hope you're all well. Actually, it's not even morning anymore. I have been overdoing it a little bit and was a little bit tired this morning and did not wake up on time because usually I do these at 8 a.m. Sydney time. And now it is 12:17, but I got a lot of other really good things done that needed to be done. And I'm also reevaluating the time and how I'm going to do these. But I still want to do some reading for you. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I thought I'd still go on to BIGO Alive as well. So welcome to you all. And let me just very quickly, so they will know that they can join as well. And hello to everybody on BIGO, and it is so good to see you all. So yes, we're going to be reading some more of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We are in chapter 1. We have just gotten to the point where Robert Kiyosaki and his friend want to learn how to make money. And his father, after he does something which is a little bit illegal, making fake coins, which they thought was going to be the great idea. His father tells him that it's not legal, but that they should go and talk to a rich dad instead of his poor dad. And so they are having a chat with him, and he pays them only 10 cents an hour. And after a while, Robert Kiyosaki gets really frustrated because he's only being paid 10 cents an hour, which is under minimum wage. And so he goes and he complains, and he's halfway through a conversation with Rich Dad. So he's telling him that poor people are always going to look to the person who's paying them to tell them that there is a challenge and a problem, and that he's going to blame other people for the rest of his life and not look for a way to actually solve problems for himself. And so he is in the middle of this conversation, and this is where we pick up. And welcome, Ladan. Good to see you on Zoom. Rich Dad looked over to me to see if I was still listening. His eyes met mine. We stared at each other, communicating through our eyes. Finally, I looked away once I had absorbed his message. I knew he was right. I was blaming him, and I did ask to learn. I was fighting. He will continue to do that for a while, but anyhow, Rich Dad continued. Or if you're the kind of person who has no guts, you just give up every time life pushes you. If you're that kind of person, you live all your life playing it safe, doing the right thing, saving yourself for some event that never happens. Then you die, a boring old man. You'll have lots of friends who really like you because you were such a nice, hardworking guy. But the truth is that you let life push you into submission. Deep down, you were terrified of taking risks. You really wanted to win. But the fear of losing was greater than the excitement of winning. Deep inside, you and only you will know you didn't go for it. You chose to play it safe. Our eyes met again. Now, this is a really important lesson because very often we get caught up in what we are doing and what is going on for us. And we forget to think about how life is affecting us and what else is happening outside of that. So in order to be able to say that we want to improve, we need to first admit what is wrong in order to be able to improve it. So if we have anger issues, then we need to admit that we have an anger management problem, that there is something wrong from inside of us that is causing this. If we're blaming it on other people, or if we are saying that it doesn't exist at all, then we are not going to learn the lesson and we're not going to make any changes. If you say that you are the perfect weight and you do not get onto a scale and you do not do anything to see whether it is good or not, and you then jump on the scale and you see that you are overweight, but you say that you are not overweight, then obviously you're not going to change anything because you don't believe there is an issue. You don't believe that there is something that you need to do in order to make a change. So first you need to acknowledge what is happening. And you'll see that Robert doesn't do it immediately, but eventually he does. You've been pushing me around, I asked. Some people might say that, Rich Dad smiled. I would say that I just gave you a taste of life. What taste of life? I asked, still angry, but now curious and ready to learn. You boys are the first people who have ever asked me to teach them how to make money. I have more than 150 employees, and not one of them has asked me what I know about money. They ask me for a job and a paycheck, but never to teach them about money. And it's interesting because obviously Rich Dad is doing a lot better and knows more about making money, but they're in a different category of person. They're in a different zone. So they might be let's say $50,000 per year person, and their mindset is $50,000 per year. Whereas Rich Dad might be a $500,000 per year kind of person. And the two don't mix. It's a little bit like oil and water. And so the $50,000 a year person cannot imagine doing the things that a $500,000 a year person is going to do. And so they don't even approach him to ask how he does it because they don't feel that they deserve to, and they're not allowed to learn from somebody else in order to create the same for themselves. They believe that there are certain people who are going to earn $500,000 a year and that there is a reason for it and it's external to them, and they are only entitled to earning their $50,000. Sure, they would like to earn more, but they just believe that it is not something that they can do or are entitled to ask for. They ask me for a job and a paycheck, but never to teach them about money. So most will spend the best years of their lives working for money, not really understanding what it is they are working for. I sat there listening intently. So when Mike told me you wanted to learn how to make money, I decided to design a course that mirrored real life. I could talk until I was blue in the face, but you wouldn't hear a thing. So I decided to let life push you around a bit so you could hear me. That's why I only paid you 10 cents. So what is the lesson I learned from working for only 10 cents an hour? I asked. That you're cheap and exploit your workers? See, Robert Kiyosaki's still fighting back. Rich Dad rocked back and laughed heartily. Finally, he said, you'd best change your point of view. Stop blaming me and thinking I'm the problem. If you think I'm the problem, then you have to change me, and you can't change somebody else. It's the whole point. If we can take responsibility for ourselves, rather than seeing if we can change the circumstances, change how the world works, change how other people do things with regards to us, when we're in control of ourselves, we can change jobs and look for something that's going to pay us more. We can change the way we write our CV. We can change all of these different things about ourselves to create our own circumstances rather than waiting for somebody else to change, which might take forever or might never happen, or it's just one of those things. We don't have control over other people. We have to take control over ourselves. If you realize that you're the problem, then you can change yourself, learn something, and grow wiser. Most people want everyone else in the world to change but themselves. Let me tell you, it's easier to change yourself than everyone else because you only have to change one person when you change yourself. But if you have a boss and you have co-workers and you have other people and you have your bank manager, if you have to change all of them, it would be impossible. And it's so much more work than just changing one person, yourself. I don't understand, I said. Don't blame me for your problems, Rich Dad said, growing impatient. But you only pay me 10 cents. So what are you learning? Rich Dad asked, smiling. That you're cheap, I said with a sly grin, still fighting. See, you think I'm the problem, said Rich Dad. But you are. Well, keep that attitude and you'll learn nothing. Keep the attitude that I'm the problem, and what choices do you have? Well, if you don't pay me more or show me more respect and teach me, I'll quit. Well put, said Rich Dad. That's exactly what most people do. They quit and go looking for another job, a better opportunity, and higher pay, actually thinking that this will solve the problem. In most cases, it won't. So what should I do, I asked. Just take this measly 10 cents an hour and smile? Rich Dad smiled. That's what the other people do. But that's all they do, waiting for a raise, thinking that more money will solve their problems. Most just accept it, and some take a second job working harder, but again, accepting a small paycheck. I sat staring at the floor, beginning to understand the lesson Rich Dad was presenting. I could sense it was a taste of life. Finally, I looked up and asked, so what will solve the problem? This, he said, leaning forward in his chair and tapping me gently on the head. This stuff between your ears. It was at that moment that Rich Dad shared the pivotal point of view that separated him from his employees and my poor dad, and led him to eventually become one of the richest men in Hawaii, while my highly educated but poor dad struggled financially all his life. It was a singular point of view that made all the difference over a lifetime. Rich Dad explained this point of view over and over, which I call lesson number 1. The poor and middle class work for money. The rich and money work for them. So yes, lesson number 1 is that you need to take a step back and remove yourself from seeing everything else as the problem, and being able to see that you are more in control than you think. So there are multiple options. We have been taught that we need to go to work, get a good job, and that that's the only way that we are going to achieve certain things. We separate ourselves from the wealthier who have different methods, and we believe that we are not entitled to their methods, or that their methods are bad. And so if we do the same thing, we will be bad people. But there are levels in everything. So yes, there are rich people who also do the wrong thing. I met once somebody who knew Alan Bond here in Australia, who was Australia's richest man at one point. And he liked doing things not just on the line of legality, but he liked to see if he could do something just that little bit illegally and get away with it. And that was his fun, and that's how he enjoyed living his life. Eventually, it ended up costing him everything because he ended up having to go to jail. But regardless, there are people who are wealthy who are good people. There are people who are wealthy who are not such good people. And also poor people who are extremely good people. And there are poor people who are horrible people. There are good and horrible people everywhere. And having more money or having less money is not going to change that. But what is necessary is to realize that we are more in control than we think, that it's all inside our heads. Our mindset, our ability to be able to believe that we deserve to do things differently, that we can do whatever we want to, that we can achieve it just like everybody else. Once we can accept that and move away from blaming everything around us, that becomes the time when we are then able to create our own fortunes. So we're going to leave it here. I am going to record another session after this. So I'm going to keep the BIGO live on. I'm going to open up a new Zoom, and Mladen will be able to join that one as well, because I need to start recording a few more so that we can start putting, so if I'm away or anything like that, we can, so this is always important, these contingencies that we need to set in place. When we go through life, we do things, and sometimes they don't work out the way we want to. And we can either cry about that and complain about it, or we can look for a better way to do things. So if I sleep in, or if something happens, or if I have to go on a trip and there is no internet where I'm going, which happened last week, then having extra sessions of these pre-recorded is going to be a great solution. So not looking at blaming anybody outside, just looking for other ways to fix it from what I can fix, which is myself. Now, Mladen's also left a comment and said, thank you for an easy and understandable comment. It's very valuable, and I'm very glad to hear that. And so I'm glad that I invited you to come and join as well. So this is another very important lesson, and that is that we don't go through life by ourselves. There's a very famous video where Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you have to remember that some people have done bad things in their lives, and regardless of what happens to somebody, people like Arnold Schwarzenegger and other successful people, they are going to have good traits and bad traits. And I learned this from the very first personal development book that I read. But the idea is that he doesn't want anybody to call him a self-made man. There were people around him that supported him, that allowed him to be able to have the time to work on his goals, that helped him with knowledge around real estate and how to get fitter and how to eat better, and all of these different things that turned him into who he became. Nobody can do it all by themselves. And so that's something that's very important for you to realize as well. And so that's why I wanted to make sure that I invited Mladen, who is a great fan of mine, and vice versa. We also set up an amazing online version of Robert Kiyosaki's Cash Flow, which takes it to a whole new level. And so I have a lot of respect for Mladen. And I wanted him to be able to be here because I know that I can't do things on my own. And so I really appreciate his comment in the chat as well. So I'm going to record another one of these, but for the recording, I'm just going to quickly mention that we have all of these recorded and they are on YouTube, and you can find us on YouTube at the Passive Cashflow Club. And you can also leave your comments and your thoughts on the chapters there as well, because right now you can hear my commentary, but you don't. You can leave a comment as well, but obviously it is much easier and much nicer if you can do that on YouTube as well. And you can pause and do all different things that you can't do on a live recording. So feel free to come and join us, and make sure you hit subscribe, and then you'll find out every time that we upload a new video. And next year, we're not only going to be doing these kinds of videos, we're also planning lots of other kinds of videos that are going to bring you great value. If you want to get to know more about what I am up to and what I am doing, and some of the things that I think and the people who are successful around me think, you can find me on Instagram as well. And you'll find us at business_team_6_official. And I'd love to see you there. And you can also private message me there, and I would love to hear from you. So make sure you let me know that you saw this video or one of these videos, and that is how you got my details. And I would love to continue a conversation with you as well. So feel free to do that. And yes, if you're interested in that cash flow, feel free to message me, and I will let my VA know, my virtual assistant, and she will be able to send you the details for the next one of those. So if you're on BIGO, you can stay online. I'm going to read another chapter. I am going to finish the Zoom, and I will send Lalan another link so he can join. And yes, we'll record another one on Zoom so that they're separate and we can upload them.